Coach Whitaker here. I'm so excited that you've come to join me. We've got to start putting together our game plan for the EOGs. You've worked super hard this school year. You're ready to play the game. So before we begin, I want to make sure you have 3 really important items with you. The first is going to be the passage A Night in the Trees. It should be in your teaching packet. The second thing that you need is the independent practice page for slide 3 that goes with A Night in the Trees. It has our game plan strategy on it and 4 multiple choice questions. The third thing that you need is a pencil and a highlighter. Take a time out if you're missing any of those items. You can come back and restart the video when you're ready. Hey, welcome back. I hope you have everything that you need to start our game plan. We're going to go ahead and begin by looking at the game plan strategy list that's on your independent practice page. It's at the top. This game plan is like our close reading. We've been doing that all year. Each time we do one of these lessons, we'll review some strategy. It's always going to be close reading, but sometimes we tweak it a little bit based on the type of reading that we're doing. So the first thing in our strategy for our game plan today is to preview the text. What kind of text is it? Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? Is it a poem? I want to get my brain ready for what I'm going to be thinking about. So it's always a good idea to kind of preview before you even begin. So let's take a look at the title. A Night in the Trees. I don't know. I mean, it could be nonfiction talking about birds, or it could be a fiction story talking about a character doing something, I don't know, outside or with trees. I'm not sure. So the title doesn't give me enough information. So I'm going to read a little bit and see if I can figure it out. The first line says, Hector lagged behind the others on the hike. He felt a little worried and nervous about camping overnight with the youth group from the community center. I think I got it. I'm pretty sure this is fiction. It sounds like it's going to be about a character named Hector. I think I'm ready now. I think I'm prepared to start thinking about a fiction story. So I'm going to go to the second part of my game plan. The second thing says, read for flow. You all know what that means. It just means to go sit and read the text from beginning to end to get your brain ready. You know it's fiction now, so now go take in for a few minutes of quiet exactly what this story is going to be about. This is going to be your first time to kind of get the gist of what you're reading. So take a time out, go read for flow, and come back when you have finished. Hey, welcome back. We're ready to keep on going. So we're now moving on to strategy number 3. This strategy says, read to understand. Chunk, pencil underline feeling words. Sometimes I add in a little bit of like character actions too there. And circle character names, because in fiction it's important to track who my characters are. So make sure you have your passage and your pencil right now. Those are going to be the 2 tools you need for this next strategy. I'm going to take a quick time out and move my camera so you can see exactly what I'm about to write on my paper, and you can follow along with me. Hey friends, we're back. I hope you can see my passage. If not, you can follow along with me on your passage and listen closely to where I stop and chunk and what I circle and underline. So the next strategy I have is to read to understand. This is where we start to dive deep into the text so we can really understand what the author was writing and we can understand our characters. So what I want to do first is to chunk my text into pieces so I don't have these huge chunks that I have to think about all together. I can break it into small parts and then I can slowly add each part as I'm reading to understand. So I see a couple of natural chunks here. The first one I see starts at the beginning of the text and it goes down to the "We're sleeping, Alexander said" line. I'm using an orange marker so you can see my chunks. You should be using a pencil. My next chunk is Hector was astonished all the way down to giant popsicle. My third chunk starts at on the ground and it goes down to the very end of the text. So I've made 1, 2, 3 chunks of the text. I'm going to go up to that first chunk and I'm going to reread to understand. I'm going to circle Hector's name because he is obviously my main character. It said he lagged behind the others for the hike. He felt a little worried, that's important, and nervous about camping overnight with the youth group from the community center. Sleeping outside sounded uncomfortable. I know that when I have "un" at the front of a word, it means not comfortable. Still, his friend Alexander, another character, had insisted the trip would be fun. And here he was. Alexander ran back down the path to find him. Wait till you see where we're sleeping, Alexander said. So Alexander, when in this quote, seems really excited. My next chunk, it's Hector again. Hector was astonished when he saw the tree house. I'm going to underline that because now I know where I am, what my setting is. It was a remarkable wooden structure built between two trees. The main horizontal platform appeared to be elevated 12 feet above the ground. It had a roof overhead and railings along the side for safety. Hector thought it looked like a giant popsicle. That's interesting. I'm really using my visualizing in chunk 2 to think about how this tree house looks. Chunk 3. On the ground, the group grilled hamburgers and vegetables over a campfire. As darkness fell, Hector climbed the ladder to the tree house. He fell asleep listening to a chorus of crickets. In the morning, a bird sang on a sunlit branch just a few feet from his nose. Hector thought how now he felt like that bird, happy enough to start singing. And I underlined that whole line because there is a lot going on there. So I've started moving towards truly understanding the text. I've chunked it, I've circled characters' names, I've underlined some important parts and feeling words. Now I want to short annotate each chunk of the text. I don't want to write a lot because I don't want to spend a ton of time writing, but I'm going to just quickly summarize exactly what was going on in each chunk. So in this first chunk, I'm going to say that Hector is uncomfortable and doesn't want to camp. He really doesn't seem very excited right now. If you need time to annotate, know that you can always pause the video and work on your annotating and then restart again. In the second chunk, we see Hector is describing what the tree house looks like, and it seems like he's starting to change how he thinks about going camping. So he is talking about how the tree house looks. The third chunk, this is when Hector ends up grilling the hamburgers and the vegetables, and he climbs up the ladder and he has this really great night of sleep, and he wakes up in the morning and he's happy. So this whole chunk is about eating, sleeping, and then waking up happy. Once again, this is all about our friend Hector. So I've chunked and I've short annotated each chunk. I feel like I have a much better understanding of exactly what this fiction story is about now. So now I'm going to go ahead and practice answering a question. So question number 1, we will do together. Let's read the question together and get your highlighter ready. Our highlighter is what we use when we're diving into the text to answer questions. We use it to help our eyes find that answer quickly. So the we do question we're doing together is, what did Hector think the treehouse looked like? What am I really focusing on in this question? Well, I know it's a what question. What did Hector, I'm thinking about Hector, think the treehouse looked like? So what did Hector think the treehouse looked like? That's the main thing I'm going to focus on in this question. So I want to go back and look at my chunks again. In what chunk did we talk about what the treehouse looked like? And I could look at my annotating, talking about how the treehouse looks. I wrote that for chunk 2, so I know I'm coming right back here to this chunk. And I'm not even going to look at my answer choices yet. I'm just going to kind of think about what exactly did he think about the treehouse, what it looked like when I was reading. Well, I can go back and I can remember he said he was astonished about the treehouse. It was remarkable. It was a wooden structure built between two trees. He's describing what it looks like. The main horizontal platform appeared to be elevated 12 feet above the ground. It had a roof overhead and railings along the side. Hector thought it looked like a giant popsicle. There's what he thought it looked like. It says it right there in the text. So now I'm going to go back over to my answer choices. This is where I'm going to slash the trash, and I'm going to put a little tick mark next to anything that could be a possible answer. So A is a wooden structure. Well, yeah, the text did describe it as a wooden structure, but that's not what Hector was thinking it looked like. So I'm going to say, yeah, no, I mean, that is how it was described, but that's not what he thought. B, a horizontal platform. Once again, it was described that way in the text, but it wasn't what Hector thought it looked like. C, a giant popsicle. Well, that's the line I highlighted, so I'm going to tick mark that one. A roof with railings. Once again, that's how the text described it, but it wasn't what Hector was thinking the treehouse looked like. So I think I've figured out my answer. The best answer for what Hector thinks the treehouse looked like is going to be a giant popsicle. Now you're going to be stopping your video and moving on to try questions 3, 4, and 5 by yourself. Continue to use our game plan strategy here. We've done our close reading, so now when you go to answer these questions, I challenge you to highlight and close read your question. Don't look at the answer choices first. Think about what it could be by going back in your text. Slash your trash, tick mark your possible answers until you find the one that is the best answer. When you're done, you can turn in your game plan independent strategy page to your teacher. And then you're going to move to the next practice box in the pathway. Good luck, friends, and thanks for joining me today.